Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back in Ottawa, and it's a real pleasure to be up here sharing the stage with Natalie and Vera and Bonnie. Thank you, Shane, and thank you to the Ottawa Writers Fest and the Tree Reading Series and everyone involved in making this event happen. I wanted to start by reading the poem that I submitted to Cordite, and I didn't print off a copy. So I'm going to do what I hate when other people do. I'm going to read a poem off my phone. I apologize. But
I'm going to text you at the same time.
Turn my ringer off.
He's got a great text tone too.
This is the poem that's going to be in Cordite when they launch it in December. It's called Standing in Front of Antlers Mounted on a Wall so that they look like they're growing from your head. You must be still. You must be as a photograph. The slightest tremor could provoke the antler's unexpected flight into the wallpaper's pattern of birches. If you do it right, you should feel the coronets rooting painlessly into your skull. Let only those who look you in the eye see where you are. You must will yourself invisible to everyone else, or else you must will them all blind. If you do it right, you will feel your blood rush to the velvet tissue regenerating on the polished bones. But you must be still, and your human silhouette must be broken by the shadows of green leaves nourished on a spear of light. If you do it right, the birch grove will surround you, and the predators will never know that you are there. That's the first time I've read that poem. It's pretty new. So I'm going to read a few poems from my new book, Don't Let It End Like This, Tell Them I Said Something. And the first poem in this book is a long sort of suite of 15 sonnets called Magog, and I'll just read a couple of those. Number 4. Now the animal is dead. Jelly wobble. Scabs. Nobody knows what it is anymore. The head removed, the dark fur matted, the red ribs spread to freeze the sun in their array. A frost sets in. Burn it for the 100-handed fathers of the ruined world. Offer them this sacrifice. For the god of the goat herds with his breasts and eternal erection, arrange its bones around Rosette. For the many-headed dog god, scrape clean its skin. Even the dog god must be fed. The gods are, and we want their love. Number 6. Now when the old ones adore you, dear heart, they are locusts and lost money. They thwart, infect, and require gimme gimme. So you, beloved of white sands, face with no mouth, this is how the old ones love you, swinging the hairbrush and grunting our true names. And you, beloved of wounded knee, come, crawl out of that pit and take back the rifle you paid for. Sleep with it under your bunk. And you, beloved of Srebrenica, oh, they are wicked when they love you. Listen to their killing, then drink the whole sludgy levy. I swear they're tenderer in their absence. Our silence numbs their sting like anti-venom. And number 14. No matter what we do, the rocks and trees will fade, and the horizon too, and the blonde girl will crumble like sugar where she stands, and the breeze will carry her away glittering. No matter what we do, her sobbing will fade, and then what? The leafy fathers of the wood remain at a distance. It makes them appear softer so that we want them back. Yodelehu we sing because we want them back. O fathers of flatworms, O sons of Krypton, O genii, O small-mouthed ones, O axolotls, O ollie oxen free, we cry. But they do not budge. They lie down in darkness, and we want them absolved. They lie down in darkness, and we want them alive. And now I'll read a poem. There was a playground in Toronto in High Park that looked like a castle. And a few years ago, some vandals burnt it to the ground. And the community that lived there got together, and they raised money, and they came out, an army of volunteers, and they rebuilt it. And the castle is standing again. But before it was burnt down, I was always kind of taken with the place, and I wrote a poem about what it would be like to have a castle where you could always be young. And I thought about it, and the idea actually fucking terrifies me. So this is the palace of eternal youth. Be careful what you wish for. There you will have to relive it. The warm light that came from windows that shone on metal toys and a glass of milk. You must relive the patch of nettles, the hand torn open on the chain-link fence, the little mutt you were told went to live in a barn. You will experience it again, the taste of cough syrup, the thick-legged spider in the drain. The palace is made of wood done up in paint. There are trapdoors everywhere and hidden dangers like the stairs where you broke your wrist. If you have ever wished to be a hawk or a lion, you will wish it again. You will not know what you know now. You will have to relearn how to read and write. It will at times be difficult. You will discover again apricots, and again disappointment. You will fall and break your wrist again on the stairs. It will happen just like it happened before, and just like before, you will not know where to turn. I have several poems in here that are a kind of poem called erasure poems, where you have another text that is much longer and you just start erasing words, and the words that are left are your poem. And so I took part one of Dennis Lee's long poem, Civil Elegies, and I started taking words out of it, and I was left with a sort of a sonnet-shaped kind of poem. And I wrote this in response to the mass arrests and human rights violations that occurred during the G20 summit in Toronto in 2010. This poem is called Phalanx. Often the sun and the pollution and the lives of citizens congregating are no different, invisible until they come gutted to the concrete. I watched the Furies one morning, my city nailed, men and women muddy and crumpled before the phalanx riding down Yonge Street. 800 odd scared skinny by the buildings concealing dead bylaws. The city clogged with swindlers, we might asphyxiate. But in the tangle of truth, out of the smog and empire, we sit down as if our lives were real. Here's a poem called The Future of Cow Tipping. If you don't know what cow tipping is, if you live out in the country, and you have friends that come visit you from the city, you tell them that if first of all, you tell them that cows sleep standing up, which they don't. And then you take them out into the country and tell them that if you push on a cow while it's sleeping, standing up, it will fall over, and they think that this will be great fun. But what you really do is leave them stranded in the middle of a cow shit covered field, and you drive away. So this is called cow tipping. So the future of cow tipping begins with an epigraph from a poem by Frederick Seidel that says, "The interstellar dust keeps incubating life. The oral sharks are always having fun." The old limestone headstones are illegible. Horny teenagers come out at night to tip them like bored cattle. The dead lie sexless, defenseless against this. The interstellar dust ricochets through the earth, glimmering in the nickel mine. Neutrinos tickle the dead in their hollow tombs, igniting them like wintergreen candy. The critical sun keeps reacting, keeps incubating life. Only some rube who has never seen cattle could believe they sleep standing. I have seen the dead once or twice and believe differently about them. I have also seen teenagers. The oral pleasure they share must be worth their ignorance. Worth entering the abyss someday, their names self-erasing in a calcite glitz. The world will end when they get bored with it. But not the shark world. Sharks are always having fun. And I'd like to read this poem. Helen Keller, the famous deaf-blind writer of the last century, when she was just a very small child, was stricken with a fever that left her deaf and blind. And she overcame this to become quite a well-known figure, as we know. And when she was a well-known figure, she was invited to visit the newly finished Empire State Building. And she was given a tour of the building and taken up to its observation deck at the top. And when she went home, she received a letter from someone from the building management who asked her what she thought of the view. And she replied, it's a very eloquent and beautiful letter that Helen Keller wrote back to the Empire State Building. And you can look it up, you can read it on the internet. But I'll read you just a sentence from it, and then my poem will follow from that sentence. And this is called The Unseen World. There was the Hudson, more like the flash of a sword blade than a noble river. The little island of Manhattan, set like a jewel in its nest of rainbow waters, stared up in my face, and the solar system circled about my head. That's Helen Keller, describing the view from the Empire State Building. The unseen world. If you are born to it, there will be no oblivion. Born from one tight womb into another, as through a door that opens on a different unmarked door, and then onto a room with no walls. As though slipping from a basin filled with ink into a Martian silence, to a depth where you assume invisibility beneath an ocean of no light. But look, there's no oblivion here, no brusque deletion, only the panic of being found, of being touched by the limb of something swimming near you. Don't you see? Nothing has been removed from your experience, only added. First there was the word for water. There was the Hudson. More like the flash of some leviathan breaching its surface, and a drop of metal salts, an addition that flared beneath the tongue, that supplemented the chill and pucker native to the fingertips, the impulse that helped unveil the sea as it was drawn to your hands through a pump. There was never annihilation in this. no banishment of a sense first absent, and from no oblivion the world was recreated in novel order. Water first, and then a doll that was broken before the sink, and whose appearance did not alter when you broke it, because a doll cannot appear to you. At first, the grasp of it is more of a sword blade than a noble river. It pierces, but it does not carry. It is a doll, but what is it? The wound of new knowledge creates an opening where the doll is placed. For now it floats on water. There is no other wound for it. And then another set of stabs divides the dark further into mother and father, and their names separated left and right like stigmata, so there is no room for doubt. All the known world is within your reach, but the ivy-green world will not be held in place. It bursts. It sprawls past any manual frontier, and moving through it scars you with a map. Tuscumbia and Arkin Ridge connected by a line. The little island of Manhattan set like a jewel, Ronnie-like upon your forehead. You know this because a noun isn't transmitted by touch alone. You needn't grip the soft bodies or feel the skittering nails of mice to understand them. There was Galilee, the underground, ringside, and doghouse. These were glorious, glacial, galvanized, and grief-stricken. There was a factory and a rain shadow and a field, and in such places lightning struck. Russian history unfolded. Evangelists raved in their tents, and knowing this, that the movement of ions, the state of murdered girls, the arguments of Swedes could be related was a miracle. As your tutor, I pretended your vague planet, in its nest of rainbow waters, stared up in my face, begging to be named. So we called it penny. We called it oatcake. We called it calico. One piece at a time. You pioneered the unseen world. Your broken doll cast up a beam that signaled home. You followed water to its source, a concealed peak with invisible light falling on it from an unseen star. And about that star, more vague planets moved in their secret orbits. I asked you how I seemed beneath this hidden firmament, and your fingers scrutinized my mouth. You told me I was rugged against the atmosphere, that my voice throbbed like a vein, that in my lessons you found the gravity to hold the unseen world together, and the solar system circled about my head. Thank you.